Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the Series 12 story, Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. Written by, and I'm going to get these last names butchered, I will apologise, written by Nina Metevera? Metevera? I'm sorry, I'm completely... Yes, sorry. And is directed by Ninda Manzoor. This story deals with the life of famous inventor Nikola Tesla, who most people nowadays would know him best for the fact that his name is the inspiration for the company Tesla, owned by Elon Musk. But he was a massive inventor that basically imagined the internet before the internet and Wi-Fi, and many of his inventions he would kind of had to have ideas about before they actually came into work. Like, he had worked on essentially radio before the invention of the radio. So he was a massive influence in the history of science, and also as well of his massive invention of alternating currents, which was to go up against Thomas Edison's direct current, AC/DC. That's where we get that term from. Alternating current, direct current. And it was during this where we have what they call the AC/DC wars, which, like, all I imagine is just like Angus Young with a guitar just smashing a bunch of people in the face, or he's like rocking to Hell's Bells or something, or Highway to Hell, or Back in Black, just like, yeah. But anyway, yeah, the AC/DC wars was between the inventor Nikola Tesla and he was credited as a inventor in his time, but he wasn't really. He was more of a businessman, and that was, of course, Thomas Edison, who has been pitched as somebody who might have been the inventor of the cinema or the moving picture, but he was not. He stole the idea, shall we say. So yeah, this story tackles with him. It is a classic case of Series 11 kind of story, where it's mostly focused on the historical elements. This story would have fitted perfectly into Series 11. This is a pseudo-historical, however. It is like Series 11's historical stories, it is a pseudo-historical, which means that it has sci-fi elements in the story. They do fight aliens and stuff. But like Series 11, the story is mainly focused with the history. We're mainly exploring this world and exploring who these people were back in their time. And I feel like this is what Doctor Who should be about. And it was so great to see, after how characters were treated in the start of the series, Spyfall, where we had two historical characters, but the story was not focused on them. Was very disappointed at the time, but this story is about Nikola Tesla. So let's get on to the narrative at hand. The story deals with a sort of mystery at the start of the story. We get introduced to Nikola Tesla presenting his Niagara Falls project, and he's trying to harness the energy of Niagara Falls. And I love that speech. I love that music that swirls up around him, and then he shows his famous electricity machine, and everybody's in awe and in wonder, and he's standing in front of the electricity unharmed because he's dealing with alternating currents, and he can move around them. So effectively, he also does the famous thing where Nikola Tesla has done, where he picked up the light bulb and it lighted up seemingly out of nowhere, and he's just holding it and completely unharmed as the electric is going through his body and lighting up the light, and everybody's in awe, everyone's in wonder. And Nikola Tesla's like, right, all of these amazing inventions would be finished within a year, at a small fee of $5,000. I think he said $5,000, to which all the businessmen in the room, who this was a investment meeting of sorts, they always turn around and it's like, you're mad, you're insane, that anyone would give you that kind of money for for a daydream, for a wonder. You are the guy that supposedly is talking to aliens on Mars. His assistant, Dorothy, played by Haley McRee, is like, no, no, no. He's, you don't read about all the papers and stuff. That stuff isn't true. To which Nikola Tesla's just like, yeah, you should read your papers. But I did get a message, which I have tracked, to Mars. And that basically funnels him out of all the projects and stuff, all of the funding. At the time as well, there seems to be a murder on the loose, as somebody was killed seemingly around Nikola Tesla's equipment. They do not believe he was harmed by the equipment, but even still, the fact that there is a chance really puts Nikola Tesla's credibility, shall we say, at a stress. And Nikola Tesla discovers in his apartment this weird technology, sci-fi orb thing, to which he wanders around and he's absolutely fascinated by. However, the supposed murderer, to which he realizes somebody has been stealing his equipment, the doctor comes in, introduces herself, and then she takes them to a cart after getting chased by fire, by an electric gun, seemingly by some Silurian technology, which is a fun call back to the fact that Chris Chibnall, who maybe not written this episode but was the producer, he one of his first things in the Stephen Moffat era was to write probably one of the better Silurian stories. I don't know if that was like a reference or not. It's strange that like Chris Chibnall didn't do a Silurian story in his time. It's very strange. I just pointed that out. And to which Nikola Tesla then announces himself to the rest of the TARDIS crew, and only really the Doctor knew who Nikola Tesla is. All these other characters, they kind of, like, they don't really know. Ryan, I think he suggests that the Nikola Tesla invented the car or something, which, like, no, he didn't, you plonker. Graham, like, is like, of course I know who Nikola Tesla is. Yeah, tell him, Doc, you tell him what it's about. So there we go. That's basically the summarization of the story. Throughout as well the story, we learn that there are spies looking in on Nikola Tesla's work, and those spies, as Dorothy points out, work for Thomas Edison, who's trying to steal his ideas, steal his patents, steal his ideas. So there's quite a few to go in with this story. Let's talk about the star of the show, Nikola Tesla, played by Goran. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his last name. Like, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name. I will butcher it. His first name is Goran. What a performance! What an absolute performance! I don't know if he's done anything big like before his role in Doctor Who. Like, I don't think I've seen this actor before, but my God, if he hasn't done like big now, that is surprising. There's so much like small little quirks to his character. I like when he takes the TARDIS crew to his laboratory, and he sees the angry mob. He is kind of like timid, very timid, puts his arms up like that. But when he gets like onto the balcony, he straightens up and he's like, I am an American, and you are standing on my property, trespassing on my property and stuff. And there's this clear wonder in his eyes, and I think the main reason this story works so well is his performance. There's also some just really great scenes where he's just explaining how, like right at the start of the episode, where he's explaining about the wonders, the mysteries, the secrets that he can unlock with his mind, and use the nature of nature itself. I do apologise, it's just started raining. And, like, there's just so much passion about this character, this person. Those does sometimes come off as, like, a Wikipedia page of, like, what he's done. There's a moment when after Graham explains, it's like he doesn't really know. The Doctor goes into his history about how he invented all of these things before they became mainstream, and as well as his work on alternating currents against Thomas Edison's direct current. There's all that detail about it, but the story does a great job at having scenes where they balance that out with true character moments, just like Rosa, just like Demon of the Punjab, and just like the Witchfinders. Like these small moments. One of my favourite scenes in all of the 13th Doctor's era. This is not even a word of lie. This is one of my favourite scenes of all time. Essentially, Nikola Tesla doesn't want to give up this orb he's found because, it's amazing. It absolutely baffles him, and he then at one point convinces he's going to show it to the Doctor, and the Doctor talks about all of these sort of inventions and the sonic screwdriver, to which he's like, you're an inventor, so you know how it feels to be so alone, desolated, as if like the whole world doesn't understand you, that people are scared, they're frightened of you because you came up with a few ideas which could benefit humanity, which could benefit all life. The way he performs that, and the way Jodie Whittaker looks at him with that apparition, but also an understanding of the pain he's going through, and the outcast feel. Remember, she left Gallifrey. The Doctor left Gallifrey because they just weren't. The main reason was because they wanted to go out and explore. They didn't feel like they fitted in to the Time Lord society of sorts. Though, of course, there are obviously multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons why that the show has given is that element of the story, is that the Doctor left because she didn't feel like she fitted in with the rest of the Time Lord society. And, that moment, when he asks her, "You understand?" and she just looks at him and is just like, "Yes." She's completely in awe, but she's completely in understanding as well. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, like Series 11, this story does something I've been criticising all the pseudo-historical stuff. It's not a big problem, and I think this story, in terms of balancing these two elements, probably has done the best job at dealing with them. And that is the fact that it is a pseudo-historical to begin with. The story does technically have two villains. Thomas Edison, who the Doctor meets up later on in the episode. Edison is played by Robert Glenister. Robert Glenister, who you might know as playing a character from the Caves of Androzani, the Fifth Doctor's last story. So to see him return was really cool, and he really plays the character well, especially just getting off that vile businessman aesthetic, which he must have had, going by all the stories that came out after his life, after his thing, and realizes that he didn't invent all of these things. He just copyrighted it. He took their inventions and just threw money at them. That's all he really did. And that, I think his performance is really good and it's really cool, and you do have that mystery, and the Doctor does expect him, obviously understanding that there is something about him that he understands about this. However, it later turns on that he doesn't know anything about this. And yeah, why is this story pseudo-historical when you could have literally just made it about the AC/DC wars between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla? Thomas Edison would have made a great Doctor Who villain. That's all I'm saying. But there is a sci-fi element, as we quickly learn throughout that there are these bug creatures called the Scythera. The Queen Scythera is actually played by Ajin Mohindra, who you might know as playing the Rani from the Sarah Jane Adventures. Not the Rani, but Rani, a friend of Luke Smith, sorry. So it was really cool to see one of the big actors of the spin-off media into the main series. It is strange how instead of having her play her character Rani, they got her to play a different character, a Queen Scythera. She does a fantastic job. She's very expressive in that makeup and that prosthetic of the claws. A lot of people did theorize that this was the same species. I can't remember off the top of my head. The same bug creature from The Runaway Bride, but it's not. It's a completely different race. And also as well to note that this is actually the second story in Doctor Who chronology where she, Anja Mohindra, plays alongside Bragley Walsh. Because Bragley Walsh had appeared as a villain in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He was the clown in The Day of the Clown. So the roles are kind of reversed, where now he's the goody, he's the companion, and she is the monster. In fact, fun fact about this story, throughout the set, she wore her makeup, her costume on all the time, and Bragley Walsh didn't actually know it was her. And was like, he thought that like he never met this woman before. It was only until after filming or everything where he asked, "Can I have a photo so I can recognize you when I see you out and about?" And she showed him a photo of her, and it's like, "Oh my God, you're from the Sarah Jane Adventures. I know you." Did you realize that like he wasn't joking? He did genuinely not know who she was. Like that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. And like the story about the Scathra is that they are a race that want you think that they're trying to find the orb that Nikola Tesla's after. That's what the Doctor originally thinks, but it turns out that it's actually a device that's gone scattered around the universe, sharing the information of people, of the people who invented it, and passing it on to other species, other life across the universe. However, the Skethra have taken this device, re-altered it so that instead of giving, it receives information, giving it back to them, and they basically use it as a high-tech camera to find Nikola Tesla, the great inventor. And they basically kidnap Nikola Tesla to get him to work for them, because nothing of theirs, nothing on the ship is theirs. The Doctor points out, like, the ship is not a Skethra ship. They are not, the technology around them is not Skethra. That orb is not Skethra. And they basically want to steal Nikola Tesla to take his ideas and use as their own. They do not care about the morality of people. They do kill, they conquer, and they steal. That's the main thing about the story. They steal. That again ties into the idea that like Nikola Tesla was this great man whose ideas, whose thoughts were basically stolen from him. And like it's the idea that like taking these ideas doesn't make you the better man. Doesn't the fact that you were the one who got your name platted on everything, the one that like you got to technically claim it, doesn't make you great. It doesn't make you anything. Actually inventing these, actually coming up with the ideas, inventing, innovating, the chance to just express yourself individually is what makes you a great person. What makes you a great man. And that ties in with the themes of the story. The Skithera, a lot of people criticise at least the story in terms of Manzura's directing, because though I think the Skithera looks really cool in the story, there were some behind the scenes photos of, it's not a behind the scenes, but it's like on like in a book, where you see it without all of the light filters and the colour correction on it. And it looks absolutely amazing. And you do feel like when you're watching the story, it's like, we could have gotten that. But there was so much like, it's so under all of these dark, harsh blue lights that we don't get a lot of moments with it. There's also some really like scenes where like she's like right up close and stuff. There's a great moment where one of her henchmen is about to talk. It's like, we need an inventor. And then she kills him without a second of thought. It's like, I was talking. We needed an inventor. She's just about, like, she basically, like, killed him so she can, like, take what he was going to say. Like, that's pretty funny. And that does seem into the themes of the story. And so on our main cast, the Doctor, as I stated, gets some really great scenes here with Nikola Tesla. And that apparition that she has for him absolutely great. Yaz, I actually think, has some really great moments here. She teams up with both Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison at one point throughout the story. And there's a moment when, just before the Skethras take Nikola Tesla, she has this kind of talk with him, and she kind of like impersonates the fact that she's might be like smart because she's from the future and she's learned from the Doctor. But she's trying to talk to him, trying to comfort him. And though, yes, that is kind of something which I did criticise her character in Series 11, it was nice to see her actually taking a role in the story, even if it was, again, the character who all the characters drop their emotions upon. As well as her scenes with Thomas Edison, where they basically have to defend the city around them. I like how she tries to tell everybody, I was like, come on, we gotta get in, and like hardly anyone's listening to her. But Thomas Edison comes to the idea that he grabs a newspaper and it's like, Nikola Tesla is going to use his machine and it's going to kill everyone. Everybody in your homes right now. It's the only way you can be safe from the fears of Nikola Tesla. As everybody runs home, and the Skethra, who the henchmen are like these big giant scorpion boys. My man. And it leads into a really great action scene. One thing you got to criticize this story in terms of historical facts is that Thomas Edison uses a gun in this story. There's one bit where like where Yaz is just like, "Where do you get that?" And then he's like, "Don't question me. Just be glad that I did." But historically, Thomas Edison would have never had a gun because he was anti-violence. He didn't like using guns. He didn't like warfare like that. So he didn't. Wasn't approving of guns. Of course, that does play into his mean persona. However, historically, that doesn't make a lot of sense. However, in the story, it does make the context. Just keep a note, he wouldn't have done that if this was a real event in history. And Nikola Tesla, after being saved by the Doctor, takes the Doctor to his famous tower, to which he basically theorized that he can make these machines and use like an energy pumping source to go back and forth throughout the entire core of the planet. Have these systems throughout the entire world like a network, and they can pass on information, pass on details through what he calls the ether. It's the internet. He invented the internet in 1903, technically. But like his ideas were corrupted and stuff. The Doctor comes up with a plan that essentially the Skithra Queen is a hive intelligence to the rest of the Skithra. If the Skithra Queen dies, the rest of the race dies with her. At least this groups of Skithra. And so the Doctor comes up with a plan to use this device which is shielding them from the rest of the Skithra to shoot a giant laser beam onto the ship, killing them dead. However, their plans go messy when, after they drop the shield and they're about to fight the Skithra, they don't move. In fact, they lead out the way to reveal the Skithra Queen is actually with them on the Earth. And the Doctor basically tricks her to take a teleportation device and teleport her back onto the Skithra ship, destroying it. The story then ends with a nice scene of Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison kind of talking man to man, essentially, and Edison is like, you must work for me, please. And Edison's just like, no, I might be bankrupt in a year or so, but my ideas are for the future. The presents can have theirs. The Doctor goes into like a small little speech to Yaz about how this doesn't really change the fact for Nikola Tesla. In a year, he will go bankrupt. He will die penniless, but he will keep on inventing. He keeps on trying to push the future into what he sees until the day he dies. And like Yaz is like, that's not fair. But then the Doctor's just like, it's history. It's how it works. Just note that like his inventions, his ideas, he will be remembered. He will go into the future his legacy will go into the future as a great fundamental part of human society. And then he states to the Doctor, it's actually the line I said earlier where it's like, let them have it. The present is theirs, the future is mine. Great line. Absolutely great line. And that is Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. Overall, this is probably one of my favourite 13th Doctor stories. So many good moments, so many great like little passages. Goes into great detail about the world that they're going into, the world of Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison and the AC/DC wars. This is probably the best in terms of the Jodie Whittaker historical stories, in terms of balancing it well with the pseudo-historical, the scientific sci-fi elements of the story. Because not only does it have a prominent role in the story, it does balance the themes of our characters. Like Rosa, like Demons of the Punjab, the monsters become a lot more big focus and are more present throughout the story, so it doesn't feel like they just come out of nowhere, essentially. Though, like those stories, I still think the story would have been better if it was a pure historical. That's the only thing that's really like letting it down. But apart from that, like, it's almost perfect. This is the problem there. This is my favourite 13th Doctor story. And again, it's one of the historical stories, so what does that tell you? And then that is Nikola Tesla's Night in Terror. So join me next time where everything changes. The Doctor comes face to face with an old foe who is chasing down this poor, innocent woman, or at least they're led to believe, as the Doctor uncovers a massive conspiracy which changes everything that she knows. So join me next time for the fugitive of the Jadoon, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra.